The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NFL Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NFL from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NFL Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NFL.
Trey Hendrickson is here in Cincinnati, wearing a white hat, beginning the hold-in.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast.
We're going to start with Trey Hendrickson.
You think Trey's going to show up? Trey, you're obviously invited. I would love for you to come Saturday night. Would be great. I'm sure fans would love for you to come as well.
Absolutely.
In fact, it would be there'd be people hanging out wanting to chat with us, and then they see Trey, and then everyone leaves, and then we would be able to do whatever we would do if you guys didn't show up. So we really want you to show up. That being said, Trey Hendrickson did show up, ended his holdout. He's officially a hold-in. And it's, on the surface, you could say, oh, well, it's as simple as $50,000 per day is a lot of money, and he's going to get fined $250,000 for those 5 practices he missed. I don't think it was necessarily that. I think that this is the next card. This is the next step that the Hendrickson camp has to play. He mentioned multiple times in the media session, hey, things haven't really changed. Because I think when people saw that he was reporting for camp, it was like, oh, they're close. They're close. I'm not sure how close they are. I don't think that there's a canyon in between them, but I do think that there's clear-cut disagreement on where the Bengals are versus where Trey is hoping to be and expects to be. Time will tell when that gets done, if that gets done. But I'll say this. It's good to have Trey in the building. It's good to have Trey talking to Shamar Stewart. I'm sure people have seen clips of that already, helping Shamar Stewart, having him in the building around the guys. That does matter. And so just really, really high level, it's good to have 91 around. And then when you get to the nuts and bolts of it, I do think easier might not be the right word, but it does set the table to get a deal done a little better with him here versus him away. Even if he's not the one doing the negotiating, he can say, hey, remember me? I'm the guy that needs to be paid before week 1.
I think that's a hope from Trey Hendrickson as he shows up. It was reported as a gesture of goodwill, something that he's hoping shows that, hey, I'm serious about this. I want to be a good teammate. I don't want to be a distraction. I also don't want to get fined. I think that's part of it. It's probably not the entire thing, but I do think those fines add up. You do this for another few weeks, you're at $1 million pretty quick. So the fines do add up after some time. But I did find Trey's remarks to be
it's that Lisco money.
Interesting. Yeah, right. I wish. I did find Trey's remarks to be interesting, talking about the mutual desire. This is what stood out to me the most. And I think this is also him posturing a little bit, but there's a mutual desire to get a deal done, and saying that he thinks there's an understanding from him and the ownership that he's not going to play this year on his deal. Now, he also wants security, and he's been very consistent in articulating the need for quote-unquote security, i.e. guaranteed money. And that's what's been reported. That's what Trey's been saying the whole time. And so that remains, maybe it's not a canyon, but there is some sort of crack in the earth between the Bengals and Trey Hendrickson. Now, how big the crack is, that's up to the person you ask, probably. But mutual desire to get a deal done, a need for security. Trey is here, and that he's here, I think, means good things if you were thinking about his availability for the beginning of the season. I think. What do you think?
Well, a couple things. One, find out Saturday how big the crack is. No. 2, that's a fun slogan to promote everything. 2, I don't know. Like, I do wonder, like, if you're Trey, I think there was a part, put it like this, because this is now similar to the Jamar Chase situation last year. I think there was a part of Jamar Chase last year, early in the season, week 1, week 2, when he was clearly distracted, and I think was really struggling with playing and whether or not he should play and if he should push the envelope a bit more. And ultimately he didn't, and I think that distracted him and impacted his play on the field. Would Trey be willing to miss games? I don't know. I think in his mind, he's hoping it never has to come to that he doesn't have to cross that
Totally.
bridge.
Absolutely.
That he's coming here. He's saying, all right, well, let's figure this out. And by the way, I think they do.
Well, that's what I'm saying though, too, right? Like that he's here means to me, it's suggestive that he is highly incentivized to get something done that leads to him being on the field for week one way or another.
Sure. And so it's interesting, like how close are they? Like the Schefter thing, and we kind of talked about that yesterday. Like the 6 to 10 million, people kind of ran with that, and he was throwing out numbers. I don't know how true that is, but let's just say it is. You could throw another 6 million in that signing bonus. You don't have to guarantee that. Like, like there are ways. So I don't know if it's that close.
I think that's probably the way it eventually goes, is toward the signing bonus. They'll probably do something with year two, but that's how they did it with Orlando Brown, right? Orlando Brown needed a number of guaranteed dollars. They did it with the biggest signing bonus they've ever done at the time.
31 million?
I thought it was 36.
30. It might have been 36. It was a lot. It's a lot of cash.
Many millions.
It's a lot of cash. Orlando, feel free to send me $1 anytime. I think that might be how this goes. And with Trey reporting and him maintaining that, not much has changed on the contract front. It doesn't feel like it's in the red zone. I told our Locked On Bengals insiders, you can join by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBengals, that I remembered it this time.
Yeah, nailed it.
I never remember it.
Crushed
I'm always like, Jake, what is it? Joinsubtext.com/LockedOnBengals. I told them it doesn't feel like it's in the red zone yet. And that doesn't mean it's not on the right side of the 50, but it still doesn't feel like it's in the red zone yet. And I still get that feeling that it's not there. Doesn't mean it can't get there quickly, especially with Joe Burrow at quarterback.
Explosive plays. Andre Yosevach in the seam all day.
Huge
all day on Wednesday.
Day for Andre. And so ultimately, though, for Trey, we've spent all offseason talking about Trey Hendrickson. I'm not shocked that he showed up. I'm not shocked that he wants to get a deal done. I'm not shocked that he said what he said and clearly made it from the jump. Hey, I'm not talking for 20 plus minutes. He talked for 8 minutes on Wednesday. So Trey's aware of everything that's been said about him all off season long. He wants everyone to know, hey, I'm a team guy. I understand it. I want to help Shamar. I want to help Miles. I want to help these guys, but I also want long-term security. And he said security a few times, and that's why the signing bonus part of it. It doesn't need to be. When I think of security in that word, well, upfront money is just as good as guaranteed money.
You got that money.
You get that money. And security comes how? When you get money. So hopefully they can find common ground over the next few weeks. I would personally think August 22nd. I'm going to pick a date. I think like in that range, like a month into camp. By then, you want something done so he can get out there on the practice field for a few weeks.
Yeah. Give me the after. If you're giving me a before and after over-under kind of line on that.
I agree, but I'm just saying like in an ideal world.
Ideal world, yes.
Ideal world.
Joe Burrow talked about this today as well, and kind of how he thinks this is a relatively common thing around the league, how it's something that often gets done going into week one. And that's how it was for him.
Yeah.
That's his lived experience, and wouldn't be shocking if it's similar. That's where I keep coming back to is it wouldn't be shocking if it's similar.
I hate it because it's such a distraction. I've said it so many times on the pod. Obviously, you have Joe. He literally signs his contract, hops on the plane to Cleveland. They get the rear ends kicked in. Part of that was the calf. I get it, but you can't tell me it wasn't a distraction. And then last year with Jamar, it would just be nice, Jake.
Would be.
You are Locked On Raiders, your daily Las Vegas Raiders podcast.
You're excited to hear about left tackle Kolton Miller and the Raiders agreeing to a 3-year deal. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN tweeted out late on Wednesday evening, the Raiders and left tackle Kolton Miller have reached an agreement on a 3-year, $66 million contract extension with $42.5 million guaranteed per sources. Longest tenured Raider now in long-term plans of the new staff. That's from Jeremy Fowler on ESPN. And then not too long after that, the Raiders actually made it official like a referee's whistle. Normally, the official statement doesn't come out till the next day, but in fact, it did come out later on Wednesday as well. As the Raiders said, Kolton Miller signed a contract extension, 6'8", 325-pound tackle, joined the Raiders as the team's first pick, 15th overall in 2018. That's the NFL draft. And since then has played in 109 games and started 107 for the Raiders. His 107 starts since 2018 are the 10th most in the NFL among offensive linemen over that span and the 5th most among tackles. Also, this is a cool note on Kolton Miller. One of the most disciplined offensive linemen in the NFL. Since entering the league in 2018, Miller averages just 0.28 penalties per game, the second lowest mark amongst tackles, minimum 100 games played. And then they go on to say the veteran anchor of the Silver and Blacks offensive line was the only member of the line to start in all 17 games in 2024. In 664 pass block snaps last season, Miller allowed a quarterback pressure on 9.8% of his snaps, the ninth lowest mark amongst tackles in the NFL, with at least 600 pass block snaps. So there you go. That's the write-up on Kolton Miller from the Raiders, but a guy that was going into the last year of his deal, a guy that had no guaranteed money last year, has no guaranteed money this year, now has got all the money, right? $66 million contract extension, $42.5 million guaranteed. That is fantastic, right? And that's something that is a reward from this new staff for Kolton Miller doing things the right way. Remember, when OTA started back in June, it was voluntary, which OTAs are always voluntary. It's not mandatory until you get to mandatory minicamp. And I believe the very first day of OTAs, Kolton Miller might not have been there. But then he decided to show up. And I remember speaking with him on June 10th. As a matter of fact, he spoke on why he chose to show up and work out, even though he was seeking a contract extension. And the practices at that point, again, going back to June 10th, were just voluntary. Check it out.
I've been here for a long time, man. This is, it's what I do. And looking to just improve each day and the direction the organization is going with, Pete. He's preaching competition. We got to make everyone better, including the young guys. So I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing and lead the guys, and that's how I'm rolling. Hey, I want to be a Raider. I want to be a Raider for life. No, I love it here. I don't want to go anywhere else. So. And, I only know one way to do it, and that's showing up, getting better each day.
Kolton Miller right there on why he show up, right? That's all he knows. That's how he rolls. Show up and work. And now he's been rewarded with the 3-year contract extension. So great news for Kolton Miller. I love the fact that John Spytek, Pete Carroll, and the rest of the Raiders organization decided to give him that contract extension. Again, he played last year. And we know, even though the numbers were pretty good, and it was, ninth amongst ninth lowest mark as far as pressures that were allowed, he wasn't even at his best last year. Remember when he started the season last year, he was basically still rehabbing the injury and the shoulder surgery that he had in the offseason. So it took him a while to get going, and he still put up really good numbers and still got a lot better towards the end of the season. And he's just been the constant. He's not a guy that's made the Pro Bowl. He's not a flashy name. He's not one when you think of the best left tackles in the league. Oh, man, Kolton Miller. But again, you know what you're getting from Kolton Miller. He's been a solid dude. We always talk about Raiders and first-round picks that don't pan out. They don't have very many of them. But to John Gruden's credit, right, the very first pick he made when he returned to the Raiders in 2018 was Kolton Miller. Remember, they traded back a couple times and ended up with the big left tackle, and he started out the right tackle position and slid over to the left tackle spot. Now he is the longest tenured Raider and still rolling on with the 3-year contract extension. So I just think that is a testament to his work, also showing up, doing it the right way, right? He didn't hold out. He didn't go to the media and complain. He said, hey, look, man, I want to be a Raider for life. This is what I do. This is what I know. And with this staff, it might work with other staffs that you don't show up, you complain about it, you go to the media, you hold out. It could work with other teams. It's not working with John Spytek and Pete Carroll. They're going to reward you for the work that you put in, right? And every time they sign a contract extension, they have one of these. It's never they say for the work that you're doing. It's for the work that you're going to do, right? It's not for what you've done in the past. It's for what you're going to do in the present. I like that. I appreciate that. And that's what they've been saying with all these contract extensions. So Jacoby Myers, he's a guy that wants a contract extension. Daniel Cash Money Carlson, he's another guy that wants a contract extension. They're both in the final years of their deal. I'm expecting something to happen sooner rather than later, but I also know where John Spytek comes from. He comes from Tampa Bay. He comes from the Jason Light tree, and they usually make these guys wait, right? At some point, they'll reward them with a contract extension, but they're never going to be in a hurry to get it done. Not where they're going to drag their feet and really put themselves in bad positions like you see Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, but they're going to make sure that they know exactly what they're getting. And so you've seen them extend guys like Max. They took care of him. They took care of Adam Butler. They took care of Isaiah Palomao, right? There's guys that they take care of, and it makes a lot of sense. A.J. Cole was a guy that was extended. They took care of him. Now they've extended Kolton Miller. You look at Jacoby Myers, you look at Daniel Carlson, and you're assuming, at least I'm assuming, sooner rather than later, they'll make the call, especially with Cash Money Carlson, man. I mean, he's a kicker still in his prime, and we all know what to expect from him. Jacoby might have to earn it a little bit more, and that's okay, because the one thing I know about Jacoby, that's exactly what he's going to do. He doesn't cry about anything. He doesn't complain about anything. He just goes out there and puts in the work. and puts in the work at a high level. All last year, no drops, right? Fantastic, and had very shoddy quarterback play. It's something I talked about on Wednesday's show. I know Brock is going to be the number one target. Jacoby could be the number one target for the wide receivers. Both of those guys can get it done as far as I'm concerned. And oh, by the way, there's a bunch of other pass catchers that are on this Raiders team that can help out as well. So big news for Kolton Miller, and I'm sure when we see him today at practice, I'm sure he's going to be a guy that they're going to select to speak with the media as they are back at practice this morning. 8:30 is when it starts, and then probably around 10-something is when we'll get to meet with coaches and we'll get to meet with players. I'm sure they're going to select Kolton Miller now that he got that contract extension.
We've all been there, locking on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with killer last-minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal? Gametime Zone Deal picks the best seats in your section for you. And with Gametime, the price you see is the price you pay. No hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast.
We got to start once again with more struggles for Cam Ward. Now, I've seen all of the reports saying it was a bounce back day for the offense, but you look at Cam Ward's performance. Teron Davenport from ESPN called it a bad day. I saw Ben Arthur call it a challenging day. Make no mistake about it. It was another rough day for Cam Ward out there that included, again, another interception. He had a ball tipped at the line of scrimmage, batted up into the air, tipped up by Cody Barton once again, who just is all over Cam Ward during training camp. And then Roger McCreary was able to get the pick. He had passes throughout the practice, had a pass knocked down a couple of different times, 2 back-to-back knockdown passes at one point in time. They asked Cam Ward about his sidearm throws and his low throws that are getting tipped, and he said, it's just football. It's just football. That's what happens. He's been throwing that way his entire life. He said he had tip passes in high school and tip passes in college. He'll have tip passes in the NFL. That's just football. It is what it is. I don't know that I would throw it away that much. Out of all of the things that we've discussed, the low passes for Cam Ward, they're getting tipped at the line of scrimmage. That's probably my biggest concern out of everything that we've heard throughout camp. But at the end of the day, he's right. That is part of football, and you just hope that he's able to adjust, find his angles in between the offensive linemen, understand when he can go sidearm, when he can't go sidearm. He even said, I've thrown passes where I didn't throw it sidearm, and they got tipped. So he makes a great point there. Now, look, it wasn't all bad for Cam Ward, and once again, it's his second padded practice as a rookie. We have to think about the entire picture. He completed what might be the highlight of training camp to Calvin Ridley in double coverage on a deep route down the field. Everybody went nuts. I mean, my guy Zach Lyons from F-Word said that he was turning into the Red Hawk after he saw the play. So everybody was fired up about that one. He had a deep pass on a post down the field to Jaquan Jackson that was perfect, and Jaquan Jackson dropped it. That's not Cam Ward's fault. You know what I mean? So he had some excellent plays. He certainly was better in this practice than he was on Tuesday's practice. That seems to be across the board what every report you could find would say about Cam Ward. So at the end of the day, what you like to see is improvement. You want to see improvement from Cam Ward, and while it was still a pretty rough day for the rookie quarterback, it was a better day than what we saw yesterday. Again, the timing has to be better. He's got to speed up his process. He's got to get through his reads. He's got to do that at a much quicker rate than what he's doing right now to eliminate some of these tip balls and some of these late passes, and I'm getting to the wide receiver and it's behind him because I'm a little bit late. He's just got to speed up his process, and we talk all the time. If you talk to any casual football fan, about the difference between NFL and college. They're going to say the speed of the game. So, of course, the speed of the game is what Cam Ward is struggling with right now, and he's trying to quicken that up. And we got to talk about this. I saw Nick Holes was on 104.5 The Zone afterwards talking about how they have purposefully made it as difficult as possible on Cam Ward. They worked a ton of third and long. It's 3rd and 11. That's a tough situation. Think good NFL teams during the season on 3rd and long situations. If you're over 50%, you're tremendous on 3rd and 10 and better. That's very difficult situations, and the Titans have been repping 3rd and long, 3rd and long, 3rd and long. Plus, on the other side of it, you got blitz by Denard Wilson, blitz by Denard Wilson, blitz by Denard Wilson. Everybody that you've heard from, whether it be a Titans offensive player or a Titans defensive player, is talking about the pressure that Denard Wilson is bringing. We have talked about how the blitzes, the Titans offensive line is doing pretty good in one-on-one situations and pretty good overall, but they're bringing blitz after blitz, and one of those knockdown passes for Cam Ward was a blitz from Xavier Woods straight up the middle. They got untouched pressure on him and then knocked it down. So I think we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to acknowledge, hey, Cam Ward's struggling in these practices. He's not having great practices right now. You have to be honest about that. But you can be honest about that and say, hey, he's not having great practices right now. But you can also say he's improving. And they're making it difficult on him on purpose. It should be very, very difficult early on. These are his first padded practices as an NFL pro. So, again, I know that half of the people read what I say or hear the opening and say, oh, this guy's hating on Cam Ward. And then the rest of you that actually listen say, no, I'm just being honest about Cam Ward, and then preaching patience with that. We can be honest that he's not having great practices right now. He's struggling a little bit. But also be honest and say, this is what a rookie quarterback should be doing. So both of those things can be said at the same time, in my opinion, without anybody freaking out. But apparently that doesn't seem to be the case. I do want to mention one other thing that's been kind of bothering me. It's been on my mind. I see in my comments on YouTube, people saying to me online, well, Levis lit it up in training camp last year, so obviously Will Levis did not light up training camp last year. That is insane revisionist history. Will Levis had good practices that we got excited. He lit up certain practices, but does everybody forget joint practices against the Seattle Seahawks where Will Levis was awful? They did an 11-on-11 team period, 2-minute drill at the end of one of those practices, and on the very first throw, he threw a pick six. Will Levis didn't light up training camp last year. So look, I'm not here to say that what Cam Ward is doing in training camp practice right now is real. What I'm saying is all of you guys who are coping with Cam Ward's struggles by saying Will Levis lit up training camp last year, so training camp clearly means nothing, you're lying. You're a liar, because Will Levis did not light up training camp last year. And ask any of the people who actually were there at training camp, who worked training camp. Go ask them yourself. Go ask TD. Go ask the beat reporters whether Will Levis lit up training camp last year. He did not, okay? And I know that since I do this for a living and I cover the team for work and I'm locked in all the time, maybe I remember some of this stuff more than others, but I remember all of you guys yelling at me because I said that Will Levis was struggling during training camp. And everyone got mad because we were all hype and excited about Will Levis. No way, I'm not here, it's just training camp. He's not struggling, it's the same stuff. So I have much more faith in Cam Ward to learn from these struggles and continue, but please do not try to come to my comment section and say Will Levis lit it up in training camp last year. You are lying, okay? Or your memory is rough. Either way, so maybe it's a medical thing and you have memory issues. I'm sorry, no mean to offend, but if you're somebody whose memory is perfectly intact and you think that Will Levis lit it up in training camp last year, like, he had some good practices, don't get me wrong, like, he certainly did, but come on now. Let's just be honest. Why can't we all just be honest? Will Levis didn't light it up in training camp. Cam Ward is struggling, but it's not time to panic. Honest. We talked about Cam Ward's practice and how the struggles still continue, even if there's a little bit of marginal improvement, which Cam Ward called the practice very mid. I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning, if I'm honest with you. Just a peek behind the curtain of my thoughts. Probably should have mentioned the very mid comment at the beginning, because Cam Ward himself is telling you that he's not having great practices. So if you don't believe me, believe him. But regardless, The offensive line had a bounce-back performance after winning one-on-ones yesterday, but struggling a little bit in the run game period. Today, on Wednesday, or yesterday, whenever you're listening to this, to my morning podcast, folks, shout out to you guys. But regardless of that, the offensive line bounced back. The offensive line had a very good day. Reports all over the board about a run game period. The Titans had 9 versus 7. Is what it was for run game. You have the quarterback and the running back, you know what I mean? And then you're going at it with the front 7. But 9 versus 7, and the Titans' offensive line was opening up big holes. Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears breaking off runs, even some of the second and third team lines. There was a late period where you heard reports about Chestnut breaking off runs and some of the other camp body running backs the Titans have brought in, making some big runs. So the offensive line up and down the board really had a pretty good day, and especially in a lot of these drills. My guy Ramon Foster, who is a friend of the program, I've had him on this show before, but Ramon Foster said on his program that basically it's tough for the offensive line when the defense knows you're running the ball. You're having a run game period. So the defense literally knows that you're running the ball. You know what I mean? And that makes it tough. That makes it tough on the offensive line when they know what it's doing. It's like goal line every single rep. But even with that, the Tennessee Titans offensive line still had some great movement, was opening up some holes. And of course, the stars of the day, when we get outside of just the offensive line's raw performance overall. In the team run period, they did pretty good. Some good pockets during the team periods as well in pass protection. The one-on-ones, I forget exactly who said it. Might have been my guy JT Runke, but he said the defensive line won some more battles on Wednesday, but overall still lost the war to the offensive line. And I think that's a great way to put things. The offensive line, especially in these one-on-one periods, have had the advantage. Okay, and that's typically not the case because defensive linemen can jump off the ball and it's a one-on-one situation, and the offensive line more than anything else has to work as a unit. You're not just a one-man. Yeah, sometimes the offensive tackle gets isolated or there's a slant this way and that leaves a guard isolated with a defensive tackle. All of that is true, but overall the offensive line is a 5-man unit that must work together, and if isolated, it's going to be much more difficult for them to have success. So even in these one-on-ones, for the offensive line to not only be winning some, but to have the true advantage over 2 days, that's a great sign for the Tennessee Titans offensive line. And again, I go back to the point that I made before the pads went on. We don't expect the Tennessee Titans pass rush to be very good. We do expect the Tennessee Titans offensive line to be a lot better. So if the Tennessee Titans offensive line was getting worked over by the defense, well, that would be a big concern. So the fact that it's going the other way, the offensive line is having the majority of success against the defensive line in these one-on-one situations, that gives me hope that our expectations of the offensive line is correct. We already know that the pass rush is not going to be great. Do not, at any point in time during this preseason process, folks, do not get tricked into thinking that the Titans pass rush is going to be good. Don't do it. Don't. I'm telling you, do not get overhyped. You can get overhyped on Cam Ward, the rookie weapons, the defense overall, but please do not trick yourself into thinking that the Tennessee Titans pass rush is going to be good. So if the Titans offensive line is dominating, that's actually a great thing for the Titans in these one-on-one scenarios. And of course, when we drill down into the individual players, who do you think is doing the best work? Peter Skoronski. Again, Peter Skoronski, one of the best pass protectors in the NFL the last third of the season last year. Like, he took an elite jump as a pass protector at the back end of last season, and he's been nails so far in training camp. He stonewalled T'Vondre Sweat on a bull rush at one point in time. He's moving guys around. He's having massive success. Yesterday, we talked about how he was the by far clear-cut best pass protector that the Titans had, and I would only say that that continued. J.C. Latham continued to have a great day and really look smooth out there. I listened to, I think it was Greg Cosell at one point saying that he looks much more natural with his punch and his kick slide and all the stuff that you have to do. Jackson Slater. Jackson Slater was a star. Multiple people I saw tweeting about Jackson Slater showing out, driving people in that run game drill. The run game drill that we talked about, the 7-on-9, Jackson Slater was an animal. Look, I know that Corey Levin is currently the backup center, and Brian Callahan said in his press conference before practice that right now Jackson Slater is not working at center. So great, but I'm just saying, Kevin Zeitler is 35 years old. He's on a 1-year deal. Jackson Slater could be the Tennessee Titans starting right guard by next year. And hey, we don't know what'll happen in the season. Could be by this year. But Jackson Slater, a guy I was high on coming into the draft, and I love that I'll always be connected to Jackson Slater because it was my name announcing him in that Tennessee Titans first rookie video. But Jackson Slater is a guy that has been impressive. And he's been moving up the ladder, and he's been getting more and more work and looking even better as of late. He's a guy who, and now Blake Hance, we'll talk about this more maybe tomorrow when I can drill into some of these other things that slip through the cracks. But Blake Hance missed his second straight practice with a calf injury. Blake Hance, in my opinion, was expected to be the number one backup player for the Tennessee Titans offensive line. Blake Hance can play tackle. Blake Hance can play primarily guard. He could play a little bit of center if you really needed him to. I don't think that that's going to be the case. But at the end of the day, Blake Hance was going to be the number 6 offensive lineman, in my opinion. And if he's missing time and Jackson Slater is taking advantage of those opportunities and impressing people, could move Jackson Slater up to that top offensive line backup spot.